Coming up on this edition of the Cowboys Report, the PFF Pro Football Focus grades are out. Want to try something different and just react to some of the notable grades. It's not going to be the boring conversation of here's what player did, here's what players C got graded as. We'll do some of their advanced stats as well. Spend some time discussing what I like, what I don't like on the grades front. There's plenty to discuss in this particular matchup, which I do think is worth having that conversation on and mentioning. So we'll dive into that. Before we get to it, though, on today's show, I don't think there's going to be a push notification on this on-demand version of the Cowboys Report because we went live twice within 24 hours, had 2 VODs, so there's not going to be a push. So help us out. Share today's video on social media. Spread the word to your friends that the latest Cowboys Report is out. All right, so Dak Prescott, looking at his early stats, just the raw stats, they do not jump off the screen. 61.8% completion rate, that's not very good. 188 yards, that doesn't really move the needle much for you either. 5.5 yards per attempt, that's kind of meh, like who cares about that? But I think this very clearly was an eye test game for Dak Prescott, who had about double the average depth of target that Jalen Hurts did, by the way. Overall grade, this is all per PFF, 90. Passing was 86.1. Rushing was 65.6. 4 big-time throws, which, you know how PFF likes to define the opinionated big-time throw stuff there. The adjusted completion percentage, when you take out the drops, what it should be, 78.1%. He actually still had, by the way, I'm pretty sure it was on Next Gen Stats, a positive completion percentage over expectation, which is really rare when you have 4 drops. Like, normally that actually drops it because the completion percentage was incomplete. That shows you how accurate he was in that game. Under pressure, Dak Prescott, also very impressive. 9 of 12, 83 yards, 6.9 yards per attempt. If we're being honest, he probably should have had a touchdown mixed in there if some of his receivers could have held on to balls. Should have been even higher. Technically, that bomb to CeeDee Lamb that was dropped was also under pressure. Like, I thought he played incredibly well in this game. The raw stats do not show it, but the eye test absolutely does. And you can go back and watch some of the All-22. The clips are out there because Next Gen Stats, NFL Pro has done a good job of that lately, getting it up sooner. I thought Dak Prescott played a hell of a game in Week 1. He also happened to have your best tackle, I feel like, of the entire game on the touchdown-saving fumble after Miles Sanders, who we'll kind of discuss on today's show. I thought Dak played very, very well against the Philadelphia Eagles. Coming off the injury, sure didn't look like it. Runs like an old man still, but it's fine when you're accurate and making what should be plays made downfield if they weren't dropped. So grade Dak Prescott for me against the Eagles. A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know in the comment section, at the pinned comment actually, of today's show. A, B, C, D, or F. Let's go to the offensive line grades. And these are, again, per PFF, the overall in order of the highest graded players. Cooper Beebe got a 70.4. Terence Steele, a 64.5. Tyler Smith, 62.4. Tyler Booker, who struggled at times with some stunts. That's just what he needs to be a little bit better at there. What surprised me was Tyler Guyton was actually the lowest graded offensive player for the Dallas Cowboys at 42.2 overall. The PFF dinged him for 5 hurries in this game. Now, I went back and watched every single Tyler Guyton pass protection rep this morning when I had time, and I did have about 5 hurries as well. So in the moment, it didn't feel like 5 hurries. I did go back and I'm like, okay, there's 1 hurry, there's another. There were also, I think, part of why Guyton got dinged on the grades. Honestly, I thought he got away with 2 holding penalties. I thought there were 2 different plays in which I'm like, oh, okay, that should have been holding, where Guyton's kind of like on the ground, almost on the ground. He's got his arms around the waist. Like, I think they're dinging him for that. Thought the run blocking probably could have been a little bit better. Terence Steele had, I think, maybe one of the more notable beats. But when I went back and watched it, I remember the one play where Steele gets beat to the inside and Dak has to check it down real quick. I'm like, that was a bad play. And then the other play where the entire right side of the offensive line collapses. I think both of them were actually on Booker because they were stunts / you should be helping Steele and kind of caught Steele off guard. I still think 42.2 is a little bit low. I thought relative expectations in the moment, didn't notice Guyton getting smoked. That's a good thing, by the way. The lowest graded Cowboys of note, Jay Tolia. Maybe a surprise on that. Handful of snaps for him. we'll talk about the interior run defense later. I thought it was pretty good, so I might just ignore it, frankly. We'll talk about Kenneth Murray, Guyton, Sanborn, Solomon Thomas among the lower ones as well. Look, I saw the hurries for Guyton after the rewatch. I don't think the worst graded player on offense is fair for Guyton. I would probably just give that to Miles Sanders. He had the great run and the fumble, and you never should have gotten caught from behind on that front, and that was a pretty big red flag there. So I know Guyton graded out bad on PFF. If that's a bad game for him, I think we'll probably take that. Dak holds the ball a half second longer. Maybe we feel differently, but I thought he did just fine in the end. Today's show is made possible by Chubbies, with bold designs featuring your favorite NFL teams like the Cowboys. Chubbies game day gear isn't just comfortable, it's a statement. Rep your team's logos in wildly comfortable polos like the one I am rocking today, wave-making swim trunks, and gym-ready mesh shorts. You heard that right. Swim trunks with your favorite NFL team's logo on them. All the comfort and swagger you need to take on every touchdown dance, chest bump, or dramatic fourth quarter meltdown. I'm not the biggest jersey guy. This is an elite alternative because you are able to still rock your team and look comfortable in the process. For a limited time, folks, our friends at Chubbies are giving you $10 off with promo code CHATSPORTS at chubbyshorts.com/chatsports. That's $10 off your order with promo code CHATSPORTS, and that does include the NFL collection. Not always how it works, but you can get $10 off the NFL collection over on at Chubbies right now. Support our show. Tell them we sent you. Express yourself and level up your game day wardrobe with Chubbies. That's chubbyshorts.com/chatsports and use code CHATSPORTS for $10 off. Link will be in the comment section and the description of today's show. Let's go to Kenneth Murray here. And I want to... how do I phrase this? I want to be fair. But some of the stuff that I saw from Kenneth Murray, I think very much does match what I saw in his time with LA, in his time with Tennessee, where he often is around the football. He was tied for the team lead with 9 tackles. I don't think he played that great, though. 30.1 overall grade, one of the lowest graded Cowboys players, second lowest. The run defense wasn't good. Only 62.3 tackle, it's fine. Pass rush, whatever. Coverage wasn't that great either. I think part of why that run defense grade is low is the quarterback scrambles. That was a huge issue for the Cowboys. They were able to get the Eagles into a couple different third downs, and Hurts repeatedly find a way to get out to the pocket, make the scrambles happen. 1 missed tackle, fine in coverage, 3 targets, 3 catches, 2 first downs. I'm not going to – that's fine for me. But I think that a lot of those runs the Eagles were successful on, I don't know if Kenneth Murray was always in the spot that he needed to be. And that's concerning for me. Like, I don't know why honestly, like, I look at this linebacking core in general, and I thought that they just weren't good enough. That they didn't do enough positive things in the overall unit between Kenneth Murray, between Jack Sanborn, between all of those players to justify the impact you needed out of that linebacking core. You needed more from them. Especially when you're going to do those hook zones, those soft zones, like that, you have to be able to do better at the guard spot, or at the linebacker spot. And I don't think Kenneth Murray played well enough. I don't know if the grade is as low as it should be, but that is still worth mentioning. I would almost argue that Leofau has to be playing on this linebacking core, and I don't care which one you pull off the field, but it should be Leofau out there. So what is your confidence level in the Cowboys defense? Scale it for me from 1 to 10. 1 on the low end, 10 on the high end. Let me know how you feel about this Dallas Cowboys defense. Let's do a positive one here. I was actually pretty impressed by Malik Hooker and Donovan Wilson. Maybe a slight concern for your defense overall that, as it turns out, these were your 2 highest graded players. But overalls, in the 70s. Run defense in the 70s. Tackle grades were high. The coverage grades were okay. Again, the Eagles typically feasted on the one big play to Jahan Dotson and a lot of short stuff. the Cowboys safeties executed the game plan. It's not the safety's fault the quarterback's getting 5 yards on 3rd and 3. I tend to blame the linebackers just from where they're at on the field. I need to see more impact plays. That's what separates a good game, a fine game, from a great game. But I thought overall, like, the safeties did some pretty good stuff. In fact, they were 2 of your 5 highest graded Cowboy players by PFF. Dak Prescott not including special teams because Aubrey should just get 100 every single game, frankly. I didn't even look at the special teams grades. Let me do that right now. Somehow Aubrey's not, which doesn't make any sense to me. I guess they gave him that makes no sense. I guess they don't, a 70.4 on field goals, which makes no sense because he made all of them. That's why I don't do special teams grades. Dak got 90. Revan Ford did a good job blocking on a few reps, 83.6. Hooker, Wilson, and then Marshawn Kneeland, who we'll get to more in depth here in just a second. Who impressed you the most in week 1 for the Dallas Cowboys? Which player had the best game? Let me know in the comment section of today's show who impressed you the most. How about Marshawn Kneeland? He is the one who got the sack after all, and I thought again was a pretty good player against the run, which I think you need. You need one of these defensive ends to be a good run-stopping guy. And from a grades perspective, Kneeland's 73.1 there. The next highest graded defensive end against the run was actually Ezeraku, who didn't play a lot against the run, right behind him at 72.2. But then you got to go all the way down to Sam Williams and James Houston, sub 60. It's not what you're looking for there. Like all of the Cowboys players, too many missed tackles in this matchup. Only the one pressure. But I thought Kneeland, who kind of felt like, I'd have to go back and watch when the snaps happen, kind of felt like early on they realized, okay, let's get Kneeland out there more than Dante Fowler because he ended up playing more snaps, in particular, a lot more run defense snaps. Fowler had almost 3x the pass rush snaps. Fowler had almost double the run defense snaps. He did a good job. I think he gets some credit for the Cowboys' run defense beyond guys like Kenny Clark and Osa, et cetera, doing a good job there. Osa and Clark both had good games there, too, to be clear. We'll have more Cowboys news and rumors and updates and watch parties and everything else in between. Hit that sub button so you don't miss out. YouTube.com/@CowboysTV. Some week 1 pressures. This is the pressures and pressure rate I want to make note of. Sam Williams did lead the way with 5 pressures. That is very good. Got to finish some of those pressures. Hurts got away a couple times there. Osa had 4. If you're at 15%, you're doing a good job as a penetrator. Dante Fowler got some pressures, but again, the missed tackles were a pretty consistent issue for the Cowboys defense, especially in the first half. Solomon Thomas, who I thought was okay overall, got some pressures. Ezeraku, Kneeland need a little bit more from them. Only a handful of reps for those guys. It was 24 combined, so you need more than 1 every 12 pressures between them, but at least Kneeland got the sack on the 1. Kenneth Murray, just the 1 pressure. Deron Bland, Trayvon Diggs. Bland came 3 times. Diggs and Murray came 1. It didn't blitz at all in the first half, then finally did in the second half, and it worked and could have been a sack or 2 if Bland or Diggs can make those tackles. Kenny Clark didn't do a lot as a pass rusher, but again, you did a really good job. We'll discuss it on our future show about the interior of the run defense. I think Clark certainly deserves some credit on that front.